an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is June 1st, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.41% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,533, a high of 9,615, and a low of 9,402. That's $1 for 10,493 Satoshis. The market continues to lean margin long, with 82% of the market heading that direction. Volume is a little low so far for a Monday, with only 4,534 Bitcoins trading hands. Dominance remains at 65.96%. Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know. It's been coming for some time. When it's over, so they say, it'll rain on a sunny day. I know, shining down like water. I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? I want to know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Yesterday and days before, the sun is cold and rain is hard. I know. It's been that way for all my time. Till forever on it goes, through the circle, fast and slow. I know. It can't stop. I wonder. I want to know. Have you ever seen the rain? I want to know. Have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Now a little Hunter S. Thompson from the book Kingdom of Fear. Mainly turn the camera on so that you can look at his ass. The new dumb. Something is happening here, but you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? Bob Dylan. No, sir, not a chance. Mr. Jones does not even pretend to know what's happening in America right now, and neither does anyone else. We have seen weird times in this country before, but the year 2000 is beginning to look super weird. This time, there really is nobody flying the plane. We are living in dangerously weird times now. Smart people just shrug and admit they're dazed and confused. The only ones left with any confidence at all are the new dumb. It is the beginning of the end for our world as we knew it. Doom is the operative ethic. The autumn months are never calm in America. Back to work, back to school, back to football, practice, etc. Autumn is a very traditional period, a time of strong rituals and the celebrating of strange annual holidays like Halloween and Satanism and the fateful harvest moon, which can have an ominous implication for some people. Autumn is always a time of fear and greed and hoarding for the winter coming on. Debt collectors are active on old people and fleece the weak and helpless. They want to lay in enough cash to weather the known horrors of January and February. There's always a rash of kidnappings and abductions of school children in the football months. Preteens of both sexes are traditionally seized and grabbed off the street by gangs of organized perverts who traditionally give them as Christmas gifts to each other as personal sex slaves and playthings. Most of these things are obviously wrong and ugly and evil, but at least they are traditional. They will happen. Your driveway will ice up. Your furnace will explode, and you will be rammed in traffic by an uninsured driver in a stolen car. But what the hell? That is why we have insurance, eh? And the inevitability of these nightmares and what makes them so reassuring. Life will go on, for good or ill. The structure might be a little crooked, but the foundations are still strong and unshakable. Ho ho! Think again, Buster. Look around you. There's an eerie sense of panic in the air, a silent fear and uncertainty that comes with once reliable faiths and truths and solid institutions that are no longer safe to believe in. There is a presidential election right on schedule, but somehow there is no president. A new Congress is elected like always, but somehow there is no Congress at all, not as we knew it anyway, and whatever passes for Congress will be helpless and weak, as whoever has to pass for the new president. If this were the world of sports, it would be like playing a Super Bowl that goes into 19 scoreless overtimes and never actually ends. Or 4 LA Lakers stars being murdered in different places on the same day. Guaranteed fear and loathing. Abandon all hope. Prepare for the weirdness. Get familiar with cannibalism. Good luck, Doc. November 19th, 2000. Hunter S. Thompson. It's a good one. Get us started on the right note there. Checking out our top stories in Bitcoin today. Top analysts lay out compelling case for $12,000 Bitcoin within a month. The price of Bitcoin may hit $12,000 within a month if we see a breakout above 10,000. Russia sort of dropped the hammer on Bitcoin, crypto. Russia's State Duma hates Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, you name it. If it is not the ruble or a currency issued by a state, Russia's government is not into it. The government, however, posted an updated version of their new draft law on digital financial assets on Monday for public comment, along with additional documents that significantly change the way cryptocurrency is regulated in Russia. Breaking the rules comes with legal penalties now, but the good news is Russians don't have to give up their fixation on cryptocurrencies. The law, which is not a major shift in tune from the Kremlin or the central bank in regards to official positions on privately issued cryptocurrencies, does, however, prohibit the circulation of all cryptocurrencies as well as their mining and advertising. Cryptocurrencies go completely into the gray zone in Russia, said Artem Kalikov, Chief Product Officer of Waves Enterprise. People who own 1 or 2 Bitcoins are not at risk, but all cryptocurrency exchanges and wallets hosted on Russian sites with a .ru at the end are now at risk. The new law doesn't mean that Russians cannot own digital assets legally. The Russian central bank has not yet introduced the rules for the inclusion in cryptos as a security. The Russia crypto market is waiting for that still. Glassnode. Over 60% of Bitcoin has not moved in a year. The market intelligence firm said the latest figures show increased investor hodling behavior. That's not bad. Bitmain releases cheaper Bitcoin miner as it loses market share to MicroBT. Bitmain has launched Antminer T19, a cheaper version of its efficient Bitcoin mining machine Antminer S19. The new model comes as Bitmain has been losing market share to its rival MicroBT. Bitmain also released new firmware for S17 Plus and T17 Plus Antminers, since these models have shown a high failure rate. Interesting to see Bitmain on the defensive. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.43% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,535, a high of 9,615, and a low of 9,402. That's $1 for 10,484 Satoshis. Volume's a little low for a Monday, with only 4,534 Bitcoins changing hands so far. The market continues to lean margin long, with 82% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.97%. And now, before we go into the horrors that is yesterday's news, we have something to laugh at, something fun. Well, kind of fun. I mean, it turned out nicely. Let's just watch.
You guys are fucking stupid. That's not you. You guys are racial profile thinking I'm somebody. I take both of you motherfuckers. Take them cuffs off. Sir. I got them. Take them cuffs off. I'll take both of you motherfuckers right now. This guy got the cleanest record. Y'all just. I'll take both of you motherfuckers right now. Take the cuffs off. For me, y'all got the wrong. Stupid, man. You guys are the dumbest motherfuckers. Well, they want to get tough. You are stupid. I don't know how you became a cop. Matter of fact, anybody can become a cop nowadays. Yeah, so you guys really had no other choices to do? You guys really had nothing else to go to college for but be a cop and harass me? To assume I'm somebody I'm not? My ID's in my back pocket. Watch how funny this is. Go ahead, look at it. No, don't hate me. Look at it. Oh, what does that say? What does that say? Oh.
Wrong guy.
Oh.
Wrong guy.
It says FBI.
God. No, get the fuck off me, dude. Get off me, dude.
Bro, you fucked up.
Matter of fact, I need our cards. I need your supervisor over here. Call your supervisor. Call your supervisor. Call your supervisor over here. You guys are the stupidest motherfuckers I ever met in my life. How'd you guys... what the fuck is wrong with you guys?
Look at look at him. Get him. The tough guy. And this guy here.
No, what do you mean I look like him? I need your guys.
What do you mean I look like him?
Sir, can you please come here? Are you the supervisor? These guys are racist profiling me. They assume I'm someone that I'm not. I told them I'm not who they think I am. And they said, no, you are. I'm positive you are. So, I need their cards. I need your card. I need your card. I need your card. No. Yes, I request your card. Why is that?
Bro, that was fucked up.
You guys work with us.
No, these are the people.
Yes, I'm the people. You guys serve us. So,
That's because they're corrupt as fuck.
I would like okay, I would like your card as well. Yep. And I'm going to follow the board on you, and you. Because you guys are all stupid. You guys are the dumbest motherfuckers I ever met in my life.
He's still laying into him.
This motherfucker.
Is that how you guys work nowadays?
How you work?
Someone, and that's it? That's all you guys do? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what is American gangster? You're allowed to.
You're allowed to what?
So that was a classic piece of video right there. You guys must be the dumbest motherfuckers. The police just tried to arrest an FBI officer, and the FBI guy just lays into him over and over again, telling them how stupid they are, how ridiculous they are. His buddy's filming it. You can hear his other buddies laughing at the table. I'm glad it turned out well. He's got to be careful, though, mouthing off with those cops. They could have just shot him and found out he was an FBI agent later, and it wouldn't have been so funny. But I'm glad we were able to enjoy something light before we enter the true horrors that was yesterday's news. Richard Painter, former U.S. attorney, starts us off saying, "I said it earlier in the week, and I'll say it again now. Anyone who uses Twitter to condone, justify, or encourage violence of any sort should be banned from the platform." Starting with this guy. The warning is not enough. By having no constructive response to any of the monumental crises now convulsing America, Trump has abdicated his office. He's not governing. He's golfing. He's watching cable TV. He's tweeting. Fire, pestilence, and a country at war with itself. The Trump presidency is over. Robert Reich. A pandemic unabated, an economy in meltdown, cities in chaos over police killings. All our supposed leader does is tweet. You'd be forgiven if you hadn't noticed. His verbal bombshells are louder than ever, but Donald J. Trump is no longer president of the United States. By having no constructive response to any of the monumental crises now convulsing America, Trump has abdicated his office. He's not governing. He's golfing, watching cable TV, and tweeting. How has Trump responded to the widespread unrest following the murder in Minneapolis of George Floyd, a black man who died after a white police officer knelt on his neck for 9 minutes as he was handcuffed to the ground. Trump called the protesters thugs and threatened to have them shot. "When the looting starts, the shooting starts," he tweeted, parroting a former Miami police chief whose words spurred race riots in the late 1960s. On Saturday, he gloated about the most vicious dogs and the most ominous weapons awaiting protesters outside the White House should they ever break through the Secret Service lines. Trump's response to the last 3 ghastly months of mounting disease and death has been just as heedless. Since claiming COVID-19 was a Democratic hoax and muzzling public health officials, he has punted management of the coronavirus to the states. Governors have had to find ventilators to keep patients alive and protective equipment for hospital and other essential workers who lack it, often bidding against each other. They have to decide how, when, and where to reopen their economies. Trump has claimed no responsibility at all for testing and contact tracing, the keys to containing the virus. His new plan places responsibility on the states to do their own testing and contact tracing. Trump is also AWOL in the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. More than 41 million Americans are jobless. In the coming weeks, temporary eviction moratoriums are set to end in half the states. 1/5 of Americans missed rent payments this month. Extra unemployment benefits are set to expire at the end of July. What is Trump's response? Like Herbert Hoover, who said in 1930 that the worst is behind us as thousands starved, Trump says the economy will improve and does nothing about the growing hardship. The Democratic-led House has passed a $3 trillion relief package on May the 15th. Mitch McConnell has recessed the Senate without taking action, and Trump calls the bill dead on arrival. What about other pressing issues that a real president would be addressing? The House has passed nearly 400 bills this term, including measures to reduce climate change, enhance election security, require background checks on gun sales, reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, and reform campaign finance. All are languishing in McConnell's inbox. Trump doesn't seem to be aware of any of them. There is nothing inherently wrong with golfing, watching television, and tweeting. But if that's pretty much all a president does when the nation is engulfed in crisis, he is not a president. Trump's tweets are no substitute for governing. They're mostly about getting even. When he's not fomenting violence against black protesters, he's accusing a media personality of committing murder, retweeting slurs about a black female politician's weight and the House Speaker's looks, conjuring up conspiracies against himself supposedly organized by Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and encouraging his followers to liberate their states from lockdown restrictions. He tweets bogus threats that he has no power to carry out, withholding funds from states that expand absentee voting, overruling governors who don't allow places of worship to reopen right away, and punishing Twitter for fact-checking him. And he lies incessantly. In reality, Donald Trump doesn't run the government of the United States. He doesn't manage anything. He doesn't organize anyone. He doesn't administer or oversee or supervise. He doesn't read memos. He hates meetings. He has no patience for briefings. His White House is in perpetual chaos. His advisors aren't truth tellers. They're toadies, lackeys, sycophants, and relatives. Since moving into the Oval Office in January 2017, Trump hasn't shown an ounce of interest in governing. He obsesses only about himself. But it has taken the present set of crises to reveal the depths of his self-absorbed abdication, his utter contempt for his job, his total repudiation of his office. Trump's nonfeasance goes far beyond an absence of leadership or inattention to traditional norms and roles. In a time of national trauma, he has relinquished the core duties and responsibilities of the presidency. He is no longer president. And the sooner we stop treating him as if he were, the better. Robert Reich, former Secretary of Labor, professor of public policy at the University of California at Berkeley. The United States Customs and Border Patrol have admitted that the U.S. federal government is using military drones over U.S. soil against U.S. citizens in a direct violation of posse comitatus. And what authority does Customs and Border Patrol have over citizens inside the U.S.? Posse comitatus is a famous act from the revolutionary times that protects the American citizens from having the military used against them. The military is not to be used in the governing of the state, in the policing of America. This was a very impressive clip from an older gentleman describing how much longer will we have to wait for the promised equality of America.
What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to? I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It has taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brothers and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephews' time. How much time do you want for your progress? What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to? I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years.
How much time do you want for your progress? What a powerful, although very brief message. It takes his father's time, his brothers, his mothers, his sisters, his aunts, his uncles. And he's been here 60 years waiting for it, waiting for that equality and not finding it. Ice-T writes, a lot of your so-called favorite celebrities won't say an effing word right now. They never have, and they never will. Pay attention. It's kind of like this show. We could just talk to you about Bitcoin, ignore everything that's going on, but instead, talk to you about everything that's going on. Bernie Sanders writes, our job is to demilitarize police departments so that they do not look and act like oppressing armies. Meanwhile, Ali Velshi, reporter for MSNBC, has been hit in the leg by a rubber bullet, but says he's fine. State police, supported by National Guard, fired unprovoked into an entirely peaceful rally. This is not the first report of violence by police, and it will not be the last. Unreported, but workers at Allegiant Stadium, the new Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas, testing positive for coronavirus, now rumored to number about 60. So it's almost like you can't just reopen the economy while the virus is still out there, because you send people back to work. They work next to each other, although this was supposed to be social distanced. They knew about this. They were warned about this. They even considered slowing or halting the construction project, but they said they'd space the people out. Look how well that worked. Allegedly 60 people infected with the coronavirus at the Raiders Stadium, and they'll be bringing it home to their families. Oh, we talked yesterday about this thread. It was really powerful. She talked about how we don't have a protest problem. We have a policing problem. And it seems like the police in Minneapolis are no longer in the control of the mayor or the police chief, but are acting on their own and acting like a conquering military. As Ice-T says, they'd rather arrest hundreds of American citizens than 3 of their own. Very telling. The White House continues to pump out complete bullshit, now claiming that everything in the streets is Antifa. Antifa, an organization originally designed to fight fascists and to fight neo-Nazis in Germany and Europe, doesn't seem to be active in America, doesn't seem to have a leadership or any kind of structure, doesn't seem to be a terrorist group in any way, or well, it doesn't seem to be a group, right? It's not a group. There's nothing to tie down. There's no headquarters. There's no leader. There's no ideas. There's no publications. And you can't just declare a domestic group a terrorist group. It has to be a foreign group. But that's okay. They did it anyway. And again, they're just trying to distract you from the reality that an African-American man was murdered in the streets by the police again, and all of the other brutal things that the police have done to citizens and press and everyone over the last few days. So if you believe that, I've got some beachfront property in Arizona to sell you. It's really nice. Michael George at CBS writes, I've covered protests for 15 years across the United States. This is the first time I've ever seen police actively and intentionally target the press with rubber bullets, tear gas, and arrests. Scenes reminiscent of China or Iran. We remain determined to show the country what's happening here. And it has become much less safe to be press inside the U.S. It's shocking having done the little work there with Hong Kong and the Umbrella Revolution. We certainly felt that James was not safe in Hong Kong, but now to imagine the same thing right here in the U.S., that everyone is not safe, that even here in the U.S., we can't treat the press like press. We can't have cops smart enough to ignore them. They don't even seem to know how cameras work. If you had any doubt about America's priorities, here's how the people killing us are equipped versus the people keeping us alive. And you can see the police have fancy helmets and goggles, military vests. They have all these guns and equipment strapped to their vest, very killer looking. And over here we have the hospital workers wearing trash bags. Yep, trash bags. Dana Schwartz writes, I keep thinking about when Trevor Noah had Tommy Lahren on his show, and she was furious about Kaepernick kneeling during the national anthem. And he asked her how black people should protest injustice, and then she wouldn't answer. It really does put the Kaepernick thing in perspective. It's almost like everything that he did, kneeling, pretty much sacrificing his political or his professional football career, was absolutely right. Everything that Kaepernick said was right about the injustice in America. He and other high-level protesters, football players, tried to warn us about it. They tried to peacefully ask for help. No help came. And now another dead man on the street, and the entire country and even the entire world erupting into protest. Update on the coronavirus. In April, blood clots emerged as a mysterious symptom of the coronavirus. Soon after, we began hearing reports of COVID-19 patients dying from strokes. Then came COVID toes. What do all these symptoms have in common? Impaired blood circulation. And they're now saying that the coronavirus may be a blood vessel disease, which could explain everything and help us understand the bizarre symptoms of this powerful disease. Interesting stuff there. I'll have to see how that develops. Here's a video from Whittier, California, former home of President Richard Nixon. And you can see the incredible military machinery being moved in by the Whittier police. It's almost stunning just to see right here the ridiculous paint job that they've done. This is clearly a military vehicle. And here on the side, they've stenciled for our edification or something. I don't know. Whittier police. So yes, it doesn't look military anymore. It looks just like a SWAT, I guess. So it says Whittier SWAT on the back, has a threatening eagle. But yes, that's a dark black military APC, armored personnel carrier. And there's another one. They put rescue on this one, but it doesn't look very rescuing. It looks much more like ready to murder some motherfuckers. So stay out of Whittier. Watch out for the continued movement and use of this retired military equipment from the Iran and Iraq wars, or Afghanistan and Iraq wars. Shout out to Trevor Jones Art, great artist, Trevor Jones. He does a bunch of these really neat AR paintings. You can use your phone and hover over the painting. It'll show you a video or something related to the painting. And congratulations, he sold this kind of digital cypherpunk piece here. Looks very animated. He sold that for 18 Ethereum, $4,226. Very exciting. to see crypto art being taken so seriously and respected by the crypto art buying public. So very cool. Shout out to Trevor Jones. Here's a peaceful protest in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You can see everyone having a moment of silence, unfortunately broken by sirens, putting their arm up in the air in support of George Floyd, the murdered man from Minnesota. A powerful and large protest, clearly blocking the streets, but in a peaceful manner. Look how deep that protest goes, all the way back there. You can really see the strength of this protest in Minnesota. Sorry, I'm not sure what this fellow's saying, but look at that. Great job, Minneapolis. Peaceful protest, not hurting anybody. Of course, it's also in daytime. Something seems to change when it becomes nighttime. The protests seem to heat up a little. This was an incredibly powerful video. Multiple generations of African-American men discussing the problem in the streets, very frustrated. They don't know how to solve it. No one knows how to solve it. The things that they've done, the things that we've done, etc., are not working. And they express that and they expose that. This is a really great video. I don't know if you've watched it yet. I'm sure a lot of you have. But we're going to go ahead and play the whole thing. It's just a couple minutes here. But this is a discussion by multiple African-American men of the problem in the streets and how we're going to solve it. And it's a generational problem. And whatever we're doing now is not working. Really good stuff.
We won't stand up for it. I understand. What we worried about this. I understand. But we won't stand up for it. I understand. They get killed on the daily basis. Talk to me. I understand. How old are you? I'm tired of this. How old are you? I'm 45 years old. 45 and I'm 31. And I'm tired of seeing this. And you the older generation than me, and I am too. And we've been standing around as the older ones, taking all this bullshit. Always hoping for a kumbaya fucking y'all. Come here. Always standing around for a kumbaya. Ain't nobody coming to protect us. Let me tell you, we gotta start our own fucking life. I understand. But let me tell you something right here. This 16. He's 16. Oh my they gonna kill him next week. He's 16. What we gonna do? You tell me. What we gonna do? This ain't the way. Cause they ready to let loose. If the United States president say, if you loot, we shoot. Do you think doing this gonna help? I know it. So it's gonna help. But it's time to stand up. So at this point, I'm ready to die. But what's going on? Let me tell you something. That's the problem that we got. That you see right now, it's gonna happen 10 years from now. And at 26, you're going to be doing the same thing I'm doing. You understand that? 10 years. You're going to be right here, too. But he also got to stand So what I need y'all to do right now at 16 is come up with a better way. Because how we doing it, it ain't working. He angry at 46. I'm angry at 31. You angry at 16. It's old, man. It's old, you understand me? Putting yourself in harm's way is not the way. No, it's not. You and the other your counterparts the same age and that has that same power. Y'all come up with a better way. Because we ain't doing it. Oh, my God. And I have a 5-year-old son. Oh, my God. And it ain't happening. I marched 4 years ago. Keep Lamont Scott did the same shit y'all doing. The same exact thing night after night after night. It don't matter. Come up with a better way. You understand me? You keep yourself safe.
Powerful video there. Multiple generations of pain. You can see the confusion in the young man's eyes, but you can see him taking them seriously. And you can see him listening to his elders. And at the same time, just the heartless truth that his elders don't know how to fix it. And he doesn't know how to fix it. And it's nobody knows how to fix it. Everyone wants it fixed. The older man's been waiting around for a fucking kumbaya, and he hasn't had one. The younger man protested 4 years ago, and he feels that he's doing the same thing now. And the 16-year-old is just getting started. Why does this keep happening? Why can't we fix this thing? Our president has no ability to help this nation heal or chart a path forward. He spent years stoking tensions that helped amplify today's pain. This will require an entirely bottom-up solution. And that's kind of what those gentlemen were talking about there. I know it's an overused Gandhi quote, but be the change that you want to see in the world, and that the change really does start with us. But I think we see that even more after watching the video and the desperation of the two men trying to understand this problem and trying to solve it, and knowing that going out into the street, going into harm's way, getting hurt, rioting, smashing things, even protest, even peaceful protest, isn't solving this problem. We had leaders. We had powerful leaders of these movements. Most of them died in 1968, conveniently. After that, it's been very difficult to get those movements restarted. You can't lose. I mean, major leaders like John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. That's a lot of intelligence to lose. That's a lot of leadership to lose. And you can look it up, each one, an assassin's bullet. Doesn't have to be a conspiracy. Just to say that the leadership of an entire generation was wiped out. Some in 63, mostly in 68, though. Shout out to Congressman Brian Schatz. He says that he'll be introducing an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act to discontinue the program that transfers military weaponry to local police departments. It's only an amendment, and it's only being introduced. It's not passed and done yet, but still a step in the right direction. Here's Denver, Colorado. Used to be a nice place. I got to go there a couple times. Here's a pregnant woman in a car. They're shooting pepper bullets at her. He's shooting at the car. They're thinking about it.
You shot a car with a pregnant woman in it. With fucking tear gas. Fuck you, I ain't going nowhere. Fucking bitches. Shoot it again. She's fucking pregnant. Shoot it again.
Wow, they're shooting more. So there it is, police in Denver, Colorado. Oh shit, I had the wrong video. I'll play it again, I don't care. They're shooting at a car with a pregnant lady in it. You can hear him describe to them. There's a pregnant woman in there. They continue shooting. They shoot more at the man. They shoot at the windows. They shoot at where the pregnant woman is. Look at this. How many of them just shoot? Did they not think that someone wasn't recording this? Denver, Colorado. All your supervisors need to be fired. You're all responsible for this. Your police chief, all the way up the line. Your soldiers are out of control, and you're responsible. Here's another one from Denver, Colorado. Which again, like, the police chief's going to get it. So this guy's... He's filming the riot police as they stack onto the back of this thing. He has a camera phone in his hand. He has an iPhone, right, or Android or whatever. What do the cops do? They see him, and they shoot him. They shoot him directly in the phone, which is very close to his eyes, very close to his face. He's a youth. He's underage, and he's just been shot in the face by the police. Look, he's 12 feet away from them. He's not a threat to them at all. What kind of system do you allow where the cops just shoot innocent people, not even press, not just a normal person, normal kid, shooting some film of the insane riot police who are taking over and ruining his town? So these two officers were fired. So we do have our first officers fired. We'll get to the article later, but it didn't happen right away. As she says here, her older brother went to a protest in Denver last night. As the police were leaving, one of them shot him with a pepper pellet that smashed the back of his phone and exploded in his face. They were 30 feet away from each other, and it looks like the officer aimed directly at his face. Stephen King writes, both Trump and Biden spoke to George Floyd's brother. Biden listened. Trump didn't even give Philanese Floyd a chance to speak. What a dirtbag. I mean, I know it's hard. I would be sad. I wouldn't want to talk to the family of someone that's lost someone. There's a lot of pressure to say something good or say something that makes them feel better or somehow make the situation right, which you know you can't do with just words. But just to rail over them, to talk over them, and to make a speech, and then to hang up and think it's done, and to not actually empathize with them. Once again, it's very possible, it's very, very, very possible, that the president is a sociopath and he doesn't have any feelings. So if you don't have any feelings, it's impossible to have empathy, right? Empathy is the idea of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. What would my life be like if I was the mother of George Floyd and I just lost my son? What would my life be like if I was the brother of George Floyd and I just lost my brother? That's empathy, right? Biden's capable of doing that. Biden calls them up, and again, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to bring the guy back from the dead. It's not going to give him any money or anything, right? But he listened to them. He let them speak, and they had a conversation back and forth where, Biden had to think off the top of his head like what to say. And he probably just relaxed and relied on his empathy. And he thought, what if this was my son? And Biden has lost a son, and he knows what that's like. And he empathized with the guy. Trump just made a speech and talked over him. It's up to you who you want to support, but I think that's dark. I think that's creepy. And again, I have empathy for anyone. I have empathy for these police officers that are going to lose their jobs, even though they did bad things. I still can have empathy for them. Christopher Bouzet writes, once again, Trump is using Twitter to stoke racial fears and incite violence. It's clear he wants the violence and chaos to continue. And here's the opposite of this. Here's a positive story. We are trying to mix it up here today. Don't want to focus on just one side, but here's the sheriff in Flint, Michigan. We played a little bit of this, kind of the second half yesterday, where he joins the protest and he walks with them, keeping them safe, keeping his officers safe. But before he did that, he made a little speech, and we want to carry it here. It was good stuff. This is in Flint, Michigan. Twitter video. It's just a plague. I swear, if they ever tested anything, if you load it into the thing, it won't work. You have to load a new window.
Make sure that you got a voice. That's it.
There we
Don't
go.
think for a second that he represents who these cops are from all over the county and around this nation. We go out there to help people, not do that nonsense.
There we
I just
go.
want to tell you, where's my man? Right there. Where's the gentleman?
Oh, I think he took off.
Okay, yeah, my man.
He took off.
Pastor Hawkins, see, I'm just going to tell you, we want to be with y'all for real. So I took my helmet off and laid the batons down. I want to make this a parade, not a protest. You got little ones here, you got dogs, so what's up? So listen, I'm just telling you, these cops love you. That cop over there hugs people, so you tell us what you need to do.
Walk with us! 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 Walk with us!
Let's walk. Let's walk.
See, so there is another option. There is another kind of policing. As the officer said there, he's practically quoting the creation of the original police station in Scotland Yard in 1829. And he was saying that we exist to serve the people. We are here for you. We're not here to, put our knee on your neck and suffocate you. We don't do that stuff. Not here, at least not as best as he knows in his precinct and such. And he has his other officers put down their batons. He has an officer over there that likes to hug people. And he says, "What can I do for you?" And the people say, "Walk with us." And he says, "Okay." And he joins the protest. That was beautiful. It wasn't as fun as the thing where the guy was an FBI guy, but still beautiful. Flint, Michigan. Congratulations to the sheriff of Flint, Michigan for rising above this horrible situation. Here we go. We're in Pershing Square. I'm going to guess downtown Los Angeles, DTLA. And this is similar to what happened yesterday in New York with the police vehicle. Again, you can't really see it's far away, but get ready. Twitter video. You're just a plague. You just really don't work very well. I mean, fortunately, I know the secrets, so I know to open a new window and stuff. See the police officer right here, stopped. Protesters are starting to form alongside his car. And he just runs right through him. Knocks that guy all the way back. You can see. Then he backs up, skids out. People are chasing him. And again, we're going to get your badge number. They know which car was there. They have them all the cars are GPS locked. I mean, all the police, we know where you are. Look at him skid out like he's getting away. Horrible. You see the car. He's pulled way too close to the protesters. Should have taken a left turn or should have went the other way. He's being surrounded right here. Let's see. Is this a Zoom work? Oh, yeah, that worked today. Boom, just hit people right there. Almost hits more people when he swerves and backs away and is chased. Great job, police. You're making this go longer. It's like you work for the other side. All right, still making our way through the news. Yesterday, I tried to ignore the riots after the show. I think it's a good idea. You should do it too. We don't have to be this level of informed about each new event of police brutality. We can wait and then just see them afterwards on Twitter. So I went ahead and checked out some Beatles albums, and it was pretty great. I asked Alexa to play, she played Yellow Submarine, and then she played Abbey Road. But what was really neat is she didn't just play the normal Abbey Road, which of course I've heard 100 times. She played this new thing called Super Deluxe Edition, and it had tons of different alternative takes and early versions of the songs. And I found out later by doing some Google searches, at least on Apple Music, Spotify may vary, but it's likely the same albums are there. They have this thing called Super Deluxe Editions. So I, of course, just searched Apple Music for Super Deluxe, and I found a variety of other albums that now have these early versions of the songs and the remixes and the remasters. They had Sgt. Pepper's, the White Album, Stone Temple Pilots' Core, Nirvana Nevermind, Nirvana in Utero. They had a Soundgarden album, a Tears for Fears album. So all these different kind of broken down parts of songs. So if you're into music and you've probably heard Abbey Road 100 times, listen to these Super Deluxe editions so that you can hear the alternate takes and the unique versions of these songs. I didn't know about them before, and I know about them now. So pretty cool stuff. As we said earlier, the Denver cops have been busted for doing drive-by shootings of anti-police brutality protesters. I'm not sure this is the one where the officer has been fired yet, but I think this is us working our way there. This is 20 hours ago. This was outside the White House 18 hours ago, Washington, D.C. Looks like a large, peaceful protest to me. I don't see any Antifa. Looks like American citizens to me. Looks like you should address the problems the protesters are there to address. We've got another potential agent provocateur, or perhaps a white supremacist, or just an idiot here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She's just banging on that window. Doesn't even seem to be a very strong thing she's banging with, so she's having no effect. But you got to give it to Elizabeth Rogers here on Twitter. She writes, "Honestly, I would so effect a citizen's arrest on her. Briefly film her vandalism. Upload to crowd. Grab and zip tie hands. Put instrument into brown paper bag with my name and the officer I hand her off to's name written on it, and a link to the video of her crime." So that does seem to be a good solution to separate these violent looters from the non-violent protesters. Also, I don't know what she's hitting it with, but it seems to be very weak and not strong. And she just doesn't seem like a very smart person banging against this window so ineffectively. So watch out for these idiots. Here's, like I said, some different versions of the Super Deluxe albums. There's 107 songs on the White Album Super Deluxe. So I've got some listening to do. And maybe you do too, if you want to check that out. Contrast of two presidential candidates. Vice President Biden goes to meet protesters while former President Trump hides in the White House. So, which one's a pussy now? Looks like this one. There's an early version of Opla Di Plada where the Beatles do all the sound effects themselves. Very cool. And here we have more sad footage from Minneapolis, Minnesota. The protesters seem to have taken over the freeway. Clearly, everyone can see all the people. Everyone except for this driver of a tanker truck who seems to think that his load is more important than human beings' lives. This is a big mistake. You can see him barreling towards it. There's one person, doesn't seem like they can move, maybe a dog or another person stopped, and the truck has to stop, and the protesters circle the truck. I'm not sure this video goes on long enough to see the driver pulled out, but clearly the driver is going to be pulled out. This madness will not stand. Your truck, your deliveries are not more important than human lives. Your job is not more important than human lives. Your important load and your time and all those things, not more important than human lives. Like, he does stop eventually, but clearly the negative action of just racing towards a crowd of people. Clearly he was under stress. He had to get his load there and that kind of thing. But what a horrible mistake. What an anti-human move. Try to think of what Mr. Rogers would do. Try to think of what a better person than you would do, and then do that. Don't just do this. Atlanta has fired 2 police officers who attacked these people in their car. They tased them. They shot them with rubber bullets. Then they pulled them out of their car. And Twitter video, you're just a plague. But no, they're not going to be police officers anymore. It's over. No more work. Look right here. They're not bothering anybody. They're in their car. Look, they just tased them in the car. Look how many cops there are. Look how many they need to attack these 2 people in a car. Cowards. So, yep, no more job for you. Gone. And there's going to be many more where that came from. Pretty cool little Bitcoin art here. I'm going to lose my place maybe. This is from World War II propaganda. And she's sitting on his lap. She says, "Why did you sell all your Bitcoin in 2020, you weak cunt dad? At the time, it never looked like Bitcoin would stay above 9,000. And then the kid says, "Fucking Vegeta." So pretty funny stuff. Classic internet, classic World War II propaganda meme. Restored for us there on the internet, brought back to life with a little Bitcoin. So we're still working our way through it. I made the mistake of clicking on that picture, so I've been appropriately punished for it. Let's keep moving. Did you know the President of the United States went to the underground bunker for a period of time Friday night on MAGA night? He repeatedly praised Secret Service for their handling of the protest. This bunker had barely been used since the 9/11 attacks. The 9/11 attacks when they were going to crash airplanes into the White House, so it made sense to go down in the bunker. This time, it was MAGA night. I thought he had the most ominous weapons and the most vicious dogs, and a line full of young people ready to smash because they love the president and they hate human beings and they hate Americans. Instead, he hid in the bunker. The all-powerful leader hid in the bunker from protesters? Really? American protesters? Here's another officer to celebrate. This is in Jackson, Tennessee. Check this out. We want to, give both sides here a chance. Check it out. He's giving out water. He's handing out water, and he's telling people to be careful. Be careful crossing the street. And he gave them water. That's what you do. Yeah, shake his hand. Yeah, give him a hug. There you go. They're good police officers. And he's just worried about them crossing the road. He says, you're going to hurt yourself. And he doesn't want them to, dehydrate. He doesn't want them to hurt themselves. So shout out to the officer in Jackson, Tennessee. There is a different way of policing. And I think this way is way more effective, and it keeps the trust of the people. If people have a problem in Jackson, Tennessee, they know they can go to that officer for help. That's the point of a police force. If they don't trust you, you're no longer a police force. You're some kind of paramilitary organization. And we should just cut off your funding, which would end all of your jobs. Biden is out in the streets meeting with protesters while Trump is hiding in a bunker like Hitler during the last days of World War II. They better keep the cyanide away from him. Better keep the pistols away from him. No, Mr. President, no. Hundreds of people are packing H Street north of the White House for a third consecutive evening of protests over the death of George Floyd. Turnout is high, even after yesterday's clashes. It's wholly peaceful at the moment. They've taken a knee, and they're chanting, "Stop killing us," which seems like a reasonable request. Yeah, stop killing black people. Stop. Yeah. See, they brought lots of signs. Oh, they don't seem to be fans of the president. We've got protests in downtown LA. This looks like this is a close-up video of the previous video we showed of the LAPD officers running over individual and innocent civilians in the street. Just running them over. Look, number 49501. Well, who had car number 49501 at 4:41 p.m. yesterday in Los Angeles? You just lost your job. You're getting sued. You're probably liable for these people's injuries right here. Look, boom, hits them. Boom. What is going on? Why are cops running over people? Leave your car. Leave your car. You could have just lost a car. Instead, you're going to lose your job. You're going to be sued. You're not going to be a cop anymore. Bad decision. That's why we have training. The whole thing with military training, we put them in very dangerous situations, but beforehand we drill them, right? Drill is a repetitive training. You train someone over and over again. In marching band, we used to work on drills, right? And we got very good at walking on our, little order and stuff. These guys need more drills. They need more training. Look right here. Where's the bad decision? Well, you're already in the intersection. You're way too close to the protesters. You just lost your car, right? Not a big deal. $50,000, maybe $70,000, some cop extras. Certainly it's a bummer to lose something like the shotgun or the other weapons and such. Maybe you can grab those with you when you run away. But instead of running people over with your car, completely losing all moral authority, destroying the trust of the local people, and ending your ability to be a police officer. Look at this right here. Let's say that he doesn't get fired. Let's say that we aren't able to find out who is driving car number 49501 at 4:41 p.m. in Los Angeles, which again is really going to be easy to find out. We're going to find out. you think he could still be a cop after he's run people over? You think anybody's going to be like, I want to go get help from the cop who runs people over. I trust him. I trust him with my rape case. I trust him with my missing daughter. No, you can't be a cop after this. And if you were trained that badly in the first place, we should get your supervisor too. There's another shot, not sure where it is. They say the police are instigating and ramping up the violence, not quelling it. And it's shocking to see them making this worse. They're going to have to be out there more. Oh, looks like it's the same Los Angeles shot. Ooh, ho, ho, ho. We got the close-up now. Look at this, officer. We got you from multiple different angles of committing vehicular manslaughter. That's against the law, man. That's attempted murder right there. You're attempting to murder that guy. And of course, as things are, or gal, it does look like an African-American. Well, no, I'm not sure. I'm not going to make any judgments on if he hit a black guy or not. But clearly here, police officer, we can't read it here, but I'm sure they're working on it on other sites with enhanced things. But at 4:41 p.m. in Los Angeles, police officer runs over a human being that they're supposed to be protecting, then skids out backwards, almost hits another human being on a bicycle, skids out now in fear for his life, knowing that the protesters are going to stomp him. And why are they going to stomp him? Because he just ran over human beings. Right there. Human being in the road. You don't go forward. That's not your job, right? That's the end of your job. That's the end of all of your jobs. Like community trust. If you don't have community trust, you can't police because no one's going to come to you. You know that whole like no snitching thing? This is a no ever talk to the police thing. This is like you see something bad happening, you just let it happen. You're not going to risk calling the police. They might just run you over with your car. They're not going to help you. And that's a complete failure of what being police are, what it is. And let's try another one. let's go for another one. I'm sure he's going to open the door and help them. Maybe he brought them some candy. Okay, so the door won't open. He's banging on the door. Looks like, a couple of people in their car here. And what do? Start smashing the door with their baton. The door then comes open. What are they going to do now? Start dragging the person out. The person's trying to drive away.
Come to me right now. Come to me right now. Come to me
They're
right
banging
now.
the car with their baton. And then more officers move in. How many officers does it take to stop two people in a car?
Come to me right now.
Lots. Oh, looks like this is that Atlanta situation where they tased them and then pulled them out. Slightly different angle, though. Isn't it amazing with cameras? We not only have it from one angle, we have it from multiple angles. These are the Atlanta officers who already lost their jobs.
Come to me right now.
Already gone. Look at them pulling the gentleman out of the car, tasing his partner, smashing the window, pouring the pepper spray in. Just complete madness. You can see the taser go in again. He just got tased. You can see the strings here. He's become kind of unresponsive as they're tasing him. Look, they're slamming in the car. Look, they're pulling him out this way. Look at this. They're 20 cops. They can't get two people out of a car. And again, two of these cops already lost their... Look at these. Pulling them out, ripping them, banging them, beating them. These are the people you're supposed to be protecting. You're not supposed to be attacking citizens. Like, I know you got military gear and you're all charged up. And you think that you're in Iraq fighting the war and everything. But these are American civilians. This is America. We still have country. We still have cameras. And we have a court system, kind of. And these cases are going to come up. And I don't know, even those hard right-wing judges are going to see these videos. And I don't know how they're going to stand with the police officers. We'll see how it goes. Trump and his advisors calculated that he shouldn't speak to the nation because he had nothing to say. No tangible policy or action to announce, nor did he feel an urgent motivation to try to bring the people together. So he let his tweets speak for themselves. This will be studied in history forever. This is our Nero fiddled while Rome burned moment, right? At the very least, even if you don't believe in it, right? Even if you, I don't know, side with the police or something and have this whole alternate worldview, everybody knows that the right thing for the president to do, right wing, left wing, conservative, Democrat, whatever it is to get up there and to make the feel good speech. And even if it doesn't work, and even if it's cynical, and even if he doesn't believe in it, and he just reads it off the prompter and ends the speech really quickly without screwing it up by adding in on both sides or taking questions and getting angry, you have to make that feel good speech. It's 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes. You get up there and you say, I know there's a lot of chaos in the street. I know that there's been, attacks by police, and that there's been protesters looting, and there's been other people smashing things, and maybe you don't draw equivalencies. He got in trouble last time, but you acknowledge the situation and you say, there are good Americans out there. There are good police. There are good protesters. This is a horrible thing that happened to George Floyd. That you express some emotion there, and maybe it slows people down. And then you just say, I hope that Americans will stay home and follow the curfew. And if you really want to go further, you hope that there's justice for George Floyd. Maybe you go even further. You say you want those 3 other officers arrested. That seems a little far for a right-wing politician. But at the very least, you do that 5-10 minute feel-good speech because it might help, right? It might help. And sure, it's a long shot, and it's a shot in the dark, and you're desperate and all those things. But to do nothing, to just let everyone be out there, and not to say this. And again, yes, it's certainly platitudes. It's certainly things we all know, You just go out there and make a speech of platitudes. And yeah, it's not a solution or an answer, but maybe it makes people feel better, and it does something. And if you could get 10% of the people to stay home, or 20% or 30%, if you could, get some of the police to listen to you and become less violent, anything, right? Instead, he does nothing. Even right here. I volunteer. I do this show. I like doing it. But I do it because of the crisis, right? I understand that in the crisis, if I can chill some people out, if I can talk some people down, if I can help people have a good attitude and get through this, whatever kind of positive things that I think are possible from this show, I do it, right? I take the risk. I talk about the politics. People get upset with me, all those things. But here, the president who fought for months and months and months on the campaign trail to become president, usually you say things like they spent their whole life trying to be president and being good and stuff, but that's not true in this time. But he still did all that work, all those speeches, convinced all those people, got all those votes, and now he doesn't even want to be president. He doesn't even want to make the speech. You don't even have to write the speech. You got people that'll write it for you. They'll do the computers. They'll put it in the teleprompter. I mean, I do all that myself, but no, he doesn't even want to speak to you. It's pretty amazing. Like it's a huge gap. It's just like a giant gap where it's like there should have been a speech by the president here. And you look at the movie script and it says, president makes a speech. There's more riots. And then at least you have a base to go from. You can make a speech a couple days later and you could say, okay, people are still rioting. People are still mad. Maybe we really need to solve this problem. Or, okay, the police are still using military weapons to beat the shit out of human beings. Maybe we need to solve this problem, right? You at least have somewhere you can build from. You've started a dialogue, a conversation. Our dialogue with the president, right wing, left wing, love him, hate him, whatever you want, it's over, right? He's not being president anymore. I read you the Robert Reich article. He said it much better than I'm saying it now. But the least you got to do is show up, right? I guess we're getting into idiocracy again. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. And whenever I hear that, I always get out of the way. And he says to him, Joe, that's supposed to guilt you into following or maybe leading, not getting out of the way. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. This president got out of the way. It's embarrassing. A sad farewell to Christo, a German artist, along in collaboration with his wife, Jean-Claude, has passed away at the age of 84. Very controversial artist, very strange. I think that's the Reichstag in the background there, or something else maybe. But he's famously known for wrapping the Reichstag, the German parliament building, in like wrapping paper, kind of in a big shiny wrapping paper. And he said that it took away all of the facades and all of the Victorian designs and the curly cues in the corners and things, and that you just saw the shape of the building. And that was his piece. He also did the gate in New York City in Central Park. He set up these orange gateways with orange kind of plastic things trailing down, and then you would walk through them. And that was it. And it wasn't, I don't know, I think about it a lot. There's not that much to it, but I really thought that gate project was interesting. He's an interesting artist. He did a couple in California, these fences that went along the hills and made patterns. What was so interesting about that one I read about recently, they said it took 4 months to set it up, and he ran it for 2 weeks, and then he took it down. So he really understood the fleeting power of art and the power of experience, and that if you went to New York City for Central Park during those couple of weeks, you could have walked through the gates. So interesting stuff about Christo. Fond farewell to turned out to be a pretty interesting artist. I wasn't sure at first. A lot of it seems kind of fancy and showboaty and large scale and expensive, but apparently he never took donations, never took sponsorships, somehow raised or earned all the money himself for these projects. And yeah, it's interesting stuff. I would say whimsy. It gives a little bit of whimsy back to the world. Never seen that building covered in wrapping paper before. You know? Whimsy. I like that. Elijah Manley writes on Twitter, I want to be clear. Fort Lauderdale police escalated this entire situation. People were trying to leave, but officers blocked the garage. An officer also hit a black lady in the head, as reported by Local 10. The responsibility lies entirely with the police for escalating. And again, as I was watching the protest yesterday and watching them the day before, I really didn't understand the strategy of the police. Certainly I understand they're trying to clear the streets, they're trying to own the streets, they're trying to possess the territory. I understood that part, but I didn't understand how they were going to win. Sure, you possess the territory by the end of the night. You know, the buildings are on fire, you put the fires out, right? Then the next night, people come back because you hit their brother in the head, because you tasered their friend and pulled them out of a car, because you burnt up a homeless person's mattress, because you arrested an FBI guy. All of these things, because you shot protesters, because you shot press people, because you shot human beings, because you ran them over with cars multiple times, different cities, multiple cars, different times. But, around here, we begin with the end in mind, right? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If the police officers want these rallies to end, if they want to go back to being able to sleep at night and staying home and not having to go out into the streets and bust heads, the things that they're doing are causing the rallies to last longer, right? And we saw the same thing in the Iraq and the Afghanistan wars, where the whole time I thought that we should have built them hospitals, built them roads, given them things, solved their diseases, and then they would love us. That's why they love Hamas. Hamas builds them hospitals and provides them with society. Instead of all the money that we spent on bombing them and killing them and destroying their homes, we could have just bombed them with hospitals, bombed them with food. The America could be the America that gives everyone hospitals, the America that gives everybody food, instead of bombing everyone. But we didn't. We bombed Iraq. We bombed Afghanistan. We had all the fights with the weapons on the streets and the grenades and the mines and the improvised explosive devices. And we made the people fight us. And every time we thought we won a victory and we bombed them, we killed somebody's brother, we killed somebody's cousin, we killed somebody's mother. And then they had to fight us forever, and they were part of a jihad. And the point of the police station, the reason we have police in the United States, is to end feuds. These feuds in the Wild West between families like the Hatfields and the McCoys, famously of Wyatt Earp fame, they would just fight forever. They'd just be killing each other forever, and they wouldn't know why. And you forget the reasons after a while. You just get used to Montagues killing Capulets and Capulets killing Montagues. And there's just no end to it, right? There's no end until the police force. The police force, a third party, steps in between these two fighting families and says, enough. You killed his brother. You killed his cousin. You killed his son. You killed his mother. This will never end. And the police are the third party that ends that fight. So here, if we look at it, first principles from the beginning, the protesters want change in the system. They want no more police brutality, no more murdering of African American people. They want explicitly the other 3 officers to be charged. And at a certain point, they're going to want them all to be convicted. But that's the justice system. We can't control that. But at the very least, we can have the people who committed the murder or who helped commit the murder be charged. So that's how you would end this riot. Instead, if you come in and start smashing up heads and shooting at people and acting like military thugs on the street, the riots are going to go on longer. So unless their strategy or their goal is to make the riots go on longer, I don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. I know they have the weapons. I know they have to use them. I know they've been sitting on the shelf and you've been so excited to put on your SWAT gear and get your big shield in front of you and form a phalanx and start stabbing some Greeks. But it's just going to make the matter worse. And again, if we had any kind of leadership, the leadership could say this, and the leadership we could rally around those good officers, the one in Flint, Michigan, who talked to the people and walked with the people, the guy in Tennessee who gave them water and told them to be careful when crossing the street. There are good officers, but we need to support that. We need top-level national strategy. We need a way to get out of this. Right now, there's no way to get out of this, and every night they make it worse. Here's Fort Lauderdale. This is what started the uproar. I think I tried to watch this one yesterday. I couldn't quite see which person was being attacked. Maybe you guys have better eyesight than me.
On the second floor of the garage, he says, this is what started it all. Yvette, tell me when you roll the video so I can talk about it. When you see the video,
okay, the video's on now.
Watch a woman on the
It looks like right in the center of the frame.
ground, on her knees, and then
See, it seems like it already happens. Okay, so there you can see. It looks like, okay, so I'm going to say right here, this right here with the blue jeans, this is a woman on the ground, and that the police officer comes in, and he's got her head, and he pushes her to the side. He just kind of like grabs her by the head. You can see right there, he's grabbing by the head, and he pushes her to the side. And look, it looks like a nun right behind him maybe, and this is what started it all in Florida.
about it. When you see the video,
Okay, the video's on now.
watch a woman on the ground, on her knees, and then watch a police officer hit her in the head. That apparently, and watch other police officers push that police officer away. I don't know if we have it on a loop or just one time, but this is, according to a protester who is shooting, we can tell you that.
So there we go. That was Fort Lauderdale. The police officer hit a woman in the head and pushed her over, causing the rest of the protesters to then riot and attack the police. So once again, we're going to have another officer that needs to be fired in Fort Lauderdale, and presumably we need to get his supervisors too, because there's no situation where you should be randomly attacking a person on the ground. It's just that easy. BLM writes, I don't know if the media is going to screw this up, but just so you know, the looters in Walnut Creek are not protesters. They're taking advantage of the moment for their own personal gain. They're in it for the wrong reasons, and we don't claim them. I think coming up, we're going to have some footage of what's been going on in Walnut Creek. See, this video was fake. It's from the movie World War Z. Well, they took it down, whatever it was. Let's see. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, led by Bush, spent trillions of dollars of guns, bombs, and other weapons of war. Much of this unused equipment is now in the hands of police departments across the U.S. under the 1033 program. Obviously, we have to get rid of these programs. Militarizing the police is not good. It's not a good use of this extra equipment. We should just get rid of it. Here's a shot. Boy, Twitter, just unmuting the video when it goes full screen really gives you a great ability to use the video player. Like, really smart, guys. This is outside of Washington, D.C., outside of the White House. You can see it looks like a war zone. There's massive fires there. Look like maybe a lawnmower they used to mow the grass. They're going to lose that. Maybe another lawnmower there. They're going to lose that. The building's toast. And coming up, I think we have the footage where they light the guardhouse at the White House on fire. We're going to get to that pretty soon. Troops are seen converging this evening on the presidential palace in the capital of the United States, a former British colony currently beset by riots. The latest unrest is in response to continued extrajudicial killings of ethnic minorities by security services. And here we can see the troop carriers rolling into Washington, D.C., presumably. Armored, camouflaged, multiple wheels, ready to bust some heads. And here we have the militarization of the United States police force. Program 1033 allowed them to get military weapons after the Iraq and Afghanistan war. Here we can see, following 2010, incredible spikes of the amount of military equipment that is being given to the police officers. As it says on the side, the data seems pretty clear. Surplus military equipment transferred to local law enforcement by the 1033 program steadily rose in the mid-2000s, followed by spikes after 2010. We need to take this weaponry away from them, and we need to not give it to them again in the future. We need to learn from this lesson. Yamiche Alcindor from PBS writes, President Trump says these protests are professionally organized and the result of domestic terrorists and anarchists. Based upon her reporting on the ground today, the vast majority of people gathering outside the White House are everyday Americans demanding change. So you got to get rid of that Antifa lie. If you're out there still believing that nonsense, you got to get rid of it. There does seem to be agent provocateurs. We don't know if they're from the government, from the Antifa, or perhaps just white supremacists who like to dress in all black, start the protests in a more violent way, and get the African-American people who are protesting in trouble, right? It could be all kinds of false flag operations. Like right here, we have InfoWars. They say they're sticking it to Uncle Sam by burning the beds of the homeless. So you can see right here, two InfoWars type Antifa guys dressed in all black, throwing the homeless man's mattress on the fire. The homeless man tries to reach in and pull it out. His pants barely fit. He seems to be a troubled person. Oops, can't see it, sorry. See them celebrating the destruction of the homeless man's stuff. The goal here is to make protesters look bad. Poor fella. Look, he's stepping on it, dancing on it. He's got his hipster hat on.
I live here. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
It's really sad. The homeless gentleman says that he lives there, and what are they doing? Bad shot by InfoWars. Bad scene. Daniel Modell shares, the White House, Washington, August 9th, 1974. Dear Mr. Secretary, I hereby resign the office of President of the United States. Sincerely, Richard Nixon. Accepted at 11:35 a.m. by the Honorable Henry A. Kissinger, Secretary of State, Washington, D.C. So it can happen. It's happened before. When it's time to go, it's time to go. And if you don't have any speech for when people are rioting in the streets and you can't even say something nice to them and ask them to stay home. Time has come. Just go ahead and resign. It's not too late. Just resign. CNN reporter on Lafayette Square in Washington, D.C. says on air that a D.C. police officer struck the CNN cameraman with a baton, even though the cameraman was holding a camera and a credential. These incidents keep piling up. And I don't know who these police officers are who believe that they can attack American press in America, but we don't accept that. That's not what they trained you for. That's not what they pay you for. And we're going to find you all. We're going to find all the officers who attacked press, everyone that ran people over, and they're all going to be punished, just like the Nazis at Nuremberg. Remember what happened after World War II? They got all the head Nazis together at Nuremberg, and they asked them why they did it. And they said, we have to pay the mortgage. And then they hanged them. They hanged the guilty Nazis. Message from Cleveland police tonight. No media is allowed downtown unless they are inside their place of business. Period. Which Jamel Jaffer says, obviously unconstitutional. If American journalists can report from Kandahar, they can report from Cleveland. So no, Cleveland police, you don't control the press, and you still can't attack them. Peaceful protests in Washington, D.C. tackle an Antifa rioter and hand him over to the police. You can see right here in the early parts of the clip, the supposed Antifa or anarchists or white supremacists or whoever they are, black bloc people, are smashing up the sidewalk so that the sidewalk will become small bricks that then could be thrown at police or used to break windows. This is destroying our society, literally smashing it. I doubt this guy knows how to build a sidewalk, but he's certainly trying to smash one up. Interesting historical side note. After Napoleon took control of France, the first revolutions there, one of the things they would do is they had cobblestone streets. So if you had a shovel or maybe a pick, you could dig up the cobblestones. Then, just like the man's doing here, you had lots of rocks to throw at the French guards and the other police. After Napoleon took control, he cemented over all of those cobblestones so that they could no longer be easily picked up and used for future riots. So, interesting side note. We can see here the man destroying the sidewalk, literally destroying our civilization, and then going to use it to hurt police officers or break windows, basically more destruction. The protesters, however, are not having it. You can see they spray him with water. One of them tackles him. Another one moves in. They should have brought zip ties. You can get zip ties at Home Depot. They're for other uses. But if you did happen to have some zip ties, you could just got this guy's hands really quick, get his feet really quick. Then you've got him hog-tied. You tie those two together. And 3 zip ties later, you got a nice guy you can just carry around. You can see the protesters are turning him over to the police. Looks like one of the protesters gets caught in there. So the protesters are very worried that they've just turned over one of their own people. But it looks like they figure it out and they let that guy go. Yeah, he's not the one, guys. He was helping you. All right, and they let him go. So I've seen different takes on this. Some people think the protesters shouldn't hand people over, but I also think that if you bring a hammer to a protest, you're not really a protester, right? You're more of a destruction person. And you can see a lot of these videos, the people with the hammers or the crowbars, and they're banging on the windows. It's not like they just found them on the ground out there. They brought these from home, right? So when you're up here smashing... Oh yeah, just make it randomly on mute when you touch it, Twitter. That's a way to go. But when you're up there smashing up the sidewalk so that it can be used as small bricks to break windows and throw at police, you're not really a part of the protest. All these other people, look how they all have signs. I guess there's a thing on Fox News. They said you have to have a sign to be a protester, and everybody listened. They all have signs. They have cameras. They have little masks and backpacks and stuff. But here's this guy banging away at the sidewalk so that we can have more things to throw at people. Pretty crazy. The Minneapolis police chief saying that the 3 officers who didn't stop Derek Chauvin from kneeling on George Floyd's neck are complicit is huge. I can't think of a time when a police chief has ever said that or anything close. Minneapolis police chief Medera Arredondo told CNN Insider that the other 3 officers are complicit in George Floyd's death because they said nothing. Attorney Lee Merritt says it's a significant statement that could have an impact on the case in court. So not quite as good as charging them, but for the police chief, the boss of these criminal police officers, to say that they are complicit is a very big deal. The answer to systemic racism is reparations, Medicare for all, free pre-K through 16, 12 months parental leave, end the war on drugs, demilitarize the police. The Democratic Party doesn't endorse a single one of those policies. Not one. But Bernie did. Police attempts to clear the streets in Washington, D.C. You can hear from the screaming that they did it in a peaceful and orderly manner, respecting everyone's individual human dignity. So much respect from these militarized police. Nah, they just pushed forward through people and drove them out. Here it is. Let's watch again. Oh, Twitter video. You're such a plague. You'll only play the sounds to embarrass me and then not play the video. So you hear the sound of tear gas or rubber bullets being fired, then the protesters begin to run. Fireworks. Really aggressive work with those shields and the batons. Very much reminds me of the movie 300. They're going to get out there and smash up some Persians. Crazy stuff. Here's some scary stuff here. Cops are sprinting en masse after protesters. Provocation as little as a water bottle. We also see observers, people not really involved in the protest, getting maced at close range. Once again, officers, when you mace random people that aren't involved in the protest, you're just creating, judges, more protesters. That's right. You're not scaring them away. You're actually radicalizing them, just like we did in Iraq and Afghanistan, where everyone hates us now. When you do your work badly, as these officers are doing their work badly, everyone hates you. No one trusts the police anymore. And you've just destroyed the raison d'etre of your job, right? It's gone. There's no reason to be a police now that you're out smashing people. You're some kind of paramilitary clear the streets force. And we don't really need that. Nobody voted for that. Nobody's paying for that. I'm paying taxes for this. So here they are. Somebody threw a water bottle at them, so they're running down the street out of control like some kind of marauding army. This guy right here jumps out all by himself and starts spraying people who are on a raised walkway. These people are no threat to the cop. They don't really seem to be part of the protest, but they are filming. So if the police think everyone that's filming is a threat, you're basically against everyone in America. We all have camera phones, guy. We're all everywhere, and we're all filming, and a lot of times straight onto the internet, too. So, yeah, there he is right there, spraying randomly, haphazardly bear mace. The rest of his crew, when someone randomly sprays bear mace at the crowd, you have a bigger problem than the other crowd. What you actually need to do, the right thing to do, officer right here who just sees it, you just witnessed a crime. Arrest this man. You got zip ties right here on your belt. He's not going to be able to get out of them even though he's a cop. Zip ties are impossible to get out of. Don't zip tie yourself. It's awful. But yeah, arrest him. Don't just go along with it. You go along with it, now you're part of it. You're part of the cop who's randomly spraying people on the side, right? That's what you've become. Look at this. Bunch of police mad because someone threw a water ball at them, and then one maniac randomly spraying the crowd. And it doesn't look like he really hit someone directly. It's just a misting. But the idea is there. The idea is these people are separated from us by a cement bunker, by a little raised walkway. Let's just randomly spray them. Yay! Yay, I get to hurt people. Yay! Hurt people. Yay! Hurt people. How is this going to last? How is this going to end? Are your actions ending this, or your actions making it worse? Ending it, making it worse. Ending it, making it worse. Just have to be a moron. I don't know. I'll have to play that video again at the end where the guy picks up the FBI agent. He just calls him the dumbest thing. Here we go. This is pretty historic right here. This guardhouse has been featured in several movies. Certainly, The American President by Aaron Sorkin. She pulls up to it and talks to the guard about the Capra-esque qualities of visiting the White House. And her associate says, he doesn't know who Frank Capra is. And then he says, yes, I do. American filmmaker. It's a Wonderful Life. Several others. Classics. But they burnt it down today. This is MAGA night at the White House. This is what he called on. He said, everybody should come on down. We've got the most vicious dogs, the most ominous weapons.
They lit the guardhouse on fire at the White House, and now the police are deploying tear gas.
Police are deploying tear gas outside of the White House. Sounds like flashbang grenades. But there it is right here. You can see the White House guardhouse. The edge of the line is on fire. I suggest this again tonight. I'm going to probably go work on this myself. This is called 4K Nature 24/7. The world's most beautiful places captured in 4K Ultra. And it was really calming. And it was really nice. And no one got hurt. And it's true. People were being hurt while I was watching it. I just wasn't watching them be hurt. But you might want to take a break every once in a while and watch some great nature footage like this 4K Nature 24/7 channel. Then things got dark. The lights that usually illuminate the exterior of the White House have been turned off. I'm sure you guys have used this strategy before. Late at night on Halloween, when most of the normal trick-and-treaters are gone and you're running low on candy and you have to turn the lights out. And you say, I hope that the trick-or-treaters won't come with the lights out. And I hope that they won't toilet paper my house. And I hope that they won't light the guardhouse on fire. But for now, we're just going to turn the lights out. But talk about a sign of defeat. And there are other pictures coming up. Right here, you can see the lower lights are still on. There's other pictures where the White House is entirely in darkness, as if the occupant has given up on America. Given up, don't want to be president anymore. In an extraordinary step, U.S. Marshals personnel as well as DEA agents have been deployed to the streets of Washington, D.C. to assist police with security. A Department of Justice spokesperson confirms to NBC News. This is only like day 6 of the protests, and they're already calling in U.S. Marshals and DEA agents on top of the National Guard. And again, when you have these people out there randomly spraying people with bear mace, it's just going to get worse. They're just trying to make it worse. Walking at a totally normal pace with my coworker and several others in the group, apparently not fast enough for the Las Vegas Police Department, I was shot 3 or 4 times in the ankle, leg, buttocks by what I can only assume were rubber bullets. Ouch. We're now by the Mandalay Bay. Stay tuned. I'll bet if you thought you'd read that Vegas cops were shooting reporters in the butt today, you didn't think you'd read that. You were wrong. So once again, what are these police doing? What are they thinking? How are they trained? What is the purpose of these street clearing operations? Is it to make more people come back the next day? Is it to make it worse? That's clearly what's going to happen. Here are the police advancing down Las Vegas Boulevard. Total panic among the protesters around me. They are yelling and running.
Don't shoot!
The guy's sign there says, "You forgot your oath." And they really did. Look at these military forces walking through the streets of Las Vegas, threatening ordinary human beings who are just seeking justice for a murdered man. Yeah, and the nature thing is, you got to watch the nature thing. It's way better. Here's a image from Dallas, Texas, again. Here's a young girl who was shot in the face by a rubber bullet from the police. She's still holding her grocery bags. She was just out shopping. She didn't have anything to do with this. The police shot her in the face. Thinks that's going to cause more protests or less protests? Smart guys. As Stone Kettle says, if you have all the power and all the guns and all the soldiers, and you're still so terrified that you have to murder helpless prisoners, shoot people in the face with rubber bullets, turn dogs on them, well, you know, maybe you're the problem. Miranda Yaver writes, you know, I always wanted to know what it would be like to simultaneously experience the Spanish flu, Great Depression, and 1968 mass protests while Andrew Johnson was president. Ouch. Ouch. Johnson, of course, was elected after Lincoln, presided over radical Reconstruction, and took away rights from everyone who had just earned them. He was a classy fellow. This was pretty great. They took old Brian Williams down a little here. He's kind of off what he said. It's not right. They say, imagine being in a country of 100,000 COVID fatalities that is dead set on reopening, where millions of unemployed are left to starve while corporations get handouts, and where police commit murders in broad daylight, and then seeing a burning car and saying this is nihilism. Yeah, it's not really nihilism. Nihilism is when you don't care about anything, as we know from The Big Lebowski. Oh, he's a nihilist. He doesn't care about anything. They're destroying the cars to show a point. They're destroying the property to show a point. They have anger and rage that they're expressing through the destruction of property. And this anger and rage comes like from the original video we played this morning from, 60, 80, 120 years of waiting for things to get better. As the gentleman said, my father's life, my brother's life, my mother's life. Now I'm 60, my life. Still, things didn't get better. So we need to change. Things need to get better faster. To all of those of you who spout it would take decades to open up enough channels for the Lightning Network, Alex Bosworth just opened up $10,000 in liquidity to 20 different peers on the Lightning Network in a single on-chain transaction. It didn't even cost 10 cents to do it, and thanks to external funding, he opened channels directly from his hardware wallet via Electrum. So the Lightning Network continues to grow, despite all the people saying that it wouldn't work. Seems like it's working just fine. Protests have erupted in at least 140 cities across the United States over racism and police brutality. Some of the demonstrations have turned violent, prompting the activation of the National Guard in at least 21 states. Let's open it up and let's look at this graphic from the New York Times. You can see that the red boxes are protests since Wednesday. The yellow states are where the National Guard has been activated. The gray states have not yet activated the National Guard. Really an impressive map. You can see protests everywhere. Well, almost everywhere. Looks like not in Idaho. So Idaho doesn't care. That's a bad look, guys. Also not in Mississippi, I think this is, the partner of Georgia down here. Very strange. Maybe they just went to the protests in surrounding states. We even had a protest in Alaska, Honolulu, tons in Los Angeles, the usual Bay Area clumpings. Las Vegas had a protest. Reno had a protest. Reno is shutting down. They're shutting down at like 5 o'clock tonight. So really an impressive map of protests covering the entire United States. So if this is Antifa, you're fucked, right? If this is really all crazy foreign black flag protesters, right? They're in every single state. Like, we have the biggest growth of supposedly domestic terrorism you've ever seen, right? And how did it get there? It was under this guy's watch. So no, it's not Antifa. It's normal Americans who are mad at this. And as well as some bizarre agent provocateurs, perhaps white supremacists, perhaps anarchists, perhaps Antifa. But they just seem more about looting. This Reuters photo taken in front of the White House is surreal. Let's take a look at that. You can see the outline of the statue of the horse, a man riding the horse in front of the White House. I'm not going to guess. It might be Andrew Jackson. And then you can see the lines of the military police with their SWAT team weapons on and their creepy Nazi helmets. You can see just the outlines of the protesters here amidst the tear gas, just yards away from the White House. He told them to come. He told them it was MAGA night. I said he should have a big block of cheese ready, like Andrew Jackson. Apparently, there was no cheese. They said it couldn't happen. A bunch of people in the comments told me it couldn't happen. Here you go. Protesters have breached the lawn at the White House. They have breached the barriers. We can see right here. Here's the barricade. They are going over the barriers. They're offering themselves up for arrest. You can also see the nice white girl trying to protect the black guy here. That's very kind of her. And other white people are trying to protect African-American protesters. They're all offering themselves up for not resisting arrest. However, we see the police officers are pushing them to the ground. They just seem to be trying to push them out of there. They're not going to arrest them. You should just stay seated. Everyone in the protest should just step out over the line and sit down. And then the police have a much bigger problem. You have to think like Gandhi would think. These people have it. But yeah, you just stay seated, make them pull you over, make them arrest you. But there it is. They are outside of the White House. They're getting closer every single day. Here's the White House with no lights. Mentioned previous, they still had the lower lights on. Here, they've turned all the window lights off. They've turned the floodlights off. The White House is closed. As the caption says, Trump turning off the lights at the White House describes the current situation in America perfectly. Nobody's home. What a defeat. What weakness. Hiding in the bunker. Turning off the lights, pretending that no one's there. Coward. The nation's capital is legitimately on fire in every direction. As the author says, this is unreal. It's kind of a blurry photo from television, but you can see the Washington Monument right there in the center, the Jefferson Memorial, and you can see smoke coming from almost everywhere in Washington, D.C. The nation's capital on fire. More bad news from Hong Kong. Probably the most depressing symbol yet. Hong Kong refuses permission for the June 4th Tiananmen Square massacre vigil for the first time in 30 years. The new national security law introduced for Hong Kong by Beijing means that it will likely never happen again. That's how they do things in China. They try to erase history. If you ask young people in China today about the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, they have no idea what you're talking about. China has been incredibly effective in wiping out this event from Chinese history. After showing my badge and yelling, "I am the press," a Richmond police officer sprayed pepper spray in my face and shoved me to the ground. He had 3397 on his helmet. I'm out. As Rachel Bittekoffer says, pepper spray in the face feels just like you think it does. Like hell has taken up residence in your eyes. All across America, law enforcement officers are attacking and assaulting members of the press even as they present their credentials to them. Who's the enemy of the people again? More photos from Washington, D.C. and the White House tonight. A little clearer one of the man with the statue. Might be Lafayette. Yeah, it's got to be Lafayette because it's Lafayette's park. You can see the line of police, their angry shields. Here you can see a fire. Looks like a barricade being lit on fire and an American flag being burned as well. Zoom out more. There's another car on fire. And more fire with protesters standing around it. So, Washington, D.C., not looking so good these days. 2 Atlanta officers fired for excessive force, the mayor says. These were the 2 officers who tased the people in the car and pulled them out. They've been fired, but of course you saw the video. Several other officers were standing around and helping them. Not a single officer thought, hey, maybe we shouldn't tase those people and drag them out of the car. Maybe they're the people we're here to protect. Shout out to my friends Dan and Ben. They've got great stuff going on at rewardportal.com. Check out Reward Portal. You can fill out little surveys and stuff. And right now, you can be paid in Satoshis. So right here, you could earn 200 Satoshis for creating a Reward Portal meme. Following them on Twitter, you could get 20 Satoshis. If you do a Bitcoin Satoshi prize, 20 Satoshis, support them on social media. There's going to be lots more things here in the next few days. And also, if you wanted to pay someone in the Lightning Network to take a survey, you could do that at rewardportal.com. So check it out. As my friend Crypto Raptor is running it, and my other friend Ben is helping him write the back end. And they were able to use LN bits and open source software to allow their website to now accept and to donate Satoshis to anyone who fills out the surveys and does the little tasks. So it's kind of like Amazon Mechanical Turk, but for Bitcoin, and now, more importantly, for the Lightning Network. So check it out at rewardportal.com. Rewardportal.com. It's a powerful new ad from Project Lincoln, the people who made the other political ad where it showed how Donald Trump was failing us during the pandemic. And it's only a minute, so we're going to play it for political interest, just like they do on the shows. When a new political ad comes out, they always play it and they discuss it. Let's see what this is here from the Lincoln Project.
The men who followed this flag 150 years ago knew what it meant. Treason against their country. The death of the United States. America defeated the men who followed that flag. Those with honor surrendered and cast it aside forever. So why does it keep showing up today at events supporting Donald Trump? And why does he call the folks who carry it very fine people?
I think there's blame on both sides, but you also had people that were very fine people.
What does it say that they're all in for Trump? What does it say that he won't condemn a flag of hate, division, and losers? For us, It says this is a time for choosing America or Trump. The men who followed this
powerful commercial, really powerful use of the stars and bars, the Confederate flag, showing how that the men who did fly that flag did consider themselves, they were traitors. They wanted to destroy the United States of America. They preferred the Confederate States of America. They were not part of this country. So to see people wearing it and carrying it today, you wonder, maybe they don't want to live here. Maybe they don't want to be part of this union. And you also wonder, with the problems we've been having in the streets, that perhaps this may be one of the sources of our continued racism. The fact that a person like this nice old guy, can wear a shirt that says Rebel Son and has basically what should be the Nazi flag on it. What they did in Germany after the Nazis, they banned the flag. You can't buy it anywhere. You can't wear it. You can't use it. They banned the symbol of hate. They didn't wear it on their hats. They didn't wave it at rallies. They didn't claim that it meant Southern heritage. We know what it means. It means traitors to the United States. It means Confederate States over United States. Powerful advertisement from Project Lincoln. A lot of people are going to be talking about that. Has a bit of a sensationalism to it. A lot of people like this symbol. They don't seem to understand the past or understand that this is the symbol of losers. But they lost. They had the best general. They had Robert E. Lee. He trained other generals at West Point. Never will you find a bigger traitor to America than Robert E. Lee. He literally trained generals for the American Army at West Point, then took several of the generals and left to join the Confederate Army. That's a traitor. That's the flag of traitors. So I wouldn't wave it. Public health experts and me are worried that mass protests in the United States could lead to a new surge of coronavirus cases. Additionally, police are using tear gas and pepper spray, which causes people to tear up and cough, which could increase the risk of transmission. You'd think if this was a police department or a police system that cared about human beings, you'd say, you know how we usually use tear gas and make people cough? That wouldn't be a good idea right now. Maybe we should lay off on the tear gas. Just use the peaceful methods to clear the street. Not try to hurt the people more by spreading the virus. Then again, maybe they fly a different flag. Alaska's cases have gone a huge uptick from 0 to 14 to 27 in a day. Their governor encouraged rapid reopening and is now pushing to eliminate the mandatory 14-day quarantine in favor of a far less reliable test done up to 3 days before arrival. You can't just reopen because you want to. You have to kill the virus first. And if we don't kill the virus, there's going to be a massive second wave. You'll know it when you see it. You'll know it. The president has spent 4 years inciting against the media and signaling to police that there would be no consequences for violent tactics. These riots are the natural result. Interesting stories last night about a blackout in Washington, D.C., both a power blackout and a signal jamming. Later reports said that these signal jamming reports were not true. However, there were many, many different tweets about people losing connection and police blocking live streaming. This is actually against the law. It's against the law to interfere with cell phone signals because they may be used for emergency purposes. So if the police did have jammers and used them in Washington, D.C. last night, that would be against the law. However, we saw many later posts saying that these D.C. blackouts were a mistake. Maybe there was a power outage, but there was not jammers, at least as best we know right now. After finding out that Trump was hiding in his bunker, I think it's best if we don't have a coward addressing the nation. Biden, who visited a protest site, should do it. Imagine having security, having all that security, and still turning off the lights and hiding in the basement. This is the man who said he would have rushed into a school during an active shooting and disarmed the shooter. All that big talk. All that big talk. And he turns out to be a coward, hiding in his bunker. Just like Saddam Hussein. Here's fresh footage. This is from New Zealand. It's a morning in New Zealand, and thousands are marching in solidarity with the American protesters marching in New Zealand. Look at how it's peaceful. They all have signs. It's daytime. The police are not messing with them. Doesn't even seem like there's giant lines of police on the side there. I don't see any cars driving over them. Looks pretty nice. Peaceful protest in New Zealand. I've seen a lot of reports of this. I don't know what to say about it. It's going to be a continuing and developing story, but several of these sites have seen piles of bricks dropped off on the side of the street, almost like they were left there for Antifa or Black Flag or white supremacists or agent provocateurs or whoever these guys are. But you can see these bricks that don't match the existing street, right? The street's all cement here. It's blacktop where the cars are. There's no brick sections that these are going to be added to. Maybe it comes from this building here, the scaffolding. But you can see the Antifa or whatever protesters using these convenient brick stops to get bricks to break windows with. So no one really knows if they had left piles of bricks around the protest sites for people to get, but there have been more than one shot. Here's another guy here.
I know what building it is. I ain't even going to say what name it is.
He says that the bricks don't match the buildings. They don't match the sidewalks and the cement. He believes the bricks were placed there. We have more bricks here in Atlanta. I think this is. We can see again that the bricks on the ground are red. The bricks that are right there are gray. They don't seem to match the existing sidewalks. Bricks and rocks were also laid out on Houston Avenue prior to the protest. Let's see if we can see them. Oh, here there's just like those, just like individual
like
bricks.
Placing them in preparation for something.
Yep.
You know, isn't that weird?
Pretty weird, huh? Here, I'll show you again in a zoomed-in view. You can see here the bricks seem to be placed almost a foot apart on the right-hand side here. You can see just brick, 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 almost as if someone had placed them. We had more bricks in downtown Dallas. So what's going on here? I don't know. And then, of course, we had the video we showed earlier where the protester or the Antifa person is pounding at the streets, turning the sidewalk into more of these bricks to throw at people and to smash windows. So check that out. We don't know why this is happening or what's going on, but piles of bricks, strange piles of bricks, have been found at several of the potential protest sites. London is erupting with protests. Look at the size of that crowd going through London. Might be Trafalgar Square there, maybe. I'll take a guess on that one. Incredible size of the crowd in London. Also looks peaceful. Doesn't look like the police are running them over with cars. Here we do have a line of police and a couple of police cars holding them back. But we don't see any violence, at least from up here. So fantastic support from London, Berlin, other countries, global. The world is, the protest is going worldwide. This is kind of a strange thread. I guess the right-wing people believe that this is instructions to take down the Washington Monument. but they weren't very detailed. They say that this is for taking down smaller obelisks. But she says, for anyone who might be interested how to pull down an obelisk safely, from an Egyptologist who never in a million years thought this advice might become in handy. They also say the obelisk might be masquerading as a racist monument. I don't know. She's an Egyptologist. She worked in Egypt for 20 years. She knows about Egypt architecture, especially how they raised the obelisks. What she says is the key to pulling one down is to let gravity work for you. You should use chains, not rope. It's 2020 AD, not BC. Let metal work for you. And extend it around the top, the pointy bit. She estimates the number of people, says everyone should wear gloves for safety, and then pretty much supports rocking it back and forth, left and right, back and forth. She recommends a rhythmic song. You're going to need someone with a loudspeaker directing. She's really gone into detail here. But pull as one, pause, pull as one, pause. Keep pulling till there's some good rocking and some tilting, and watch that son of a bitch topple and get the F out of the way, because it will smash people. Run away from direction. And there's an artist's depiction of what you just might do with a Washington monument or another such obelisk. She's, of course, this is entirely hypothetical. Oh, we already played the Lincoln Project new advertisement. It was very good. Author says, I've researched countless protests for my first book. I've written about many since. It's safe to say we've never seen the widespread, deliberate targeting by by police of journalists that we've seen over the last few days. Something has changed. It's not what you want to hear. Over the past, since 2015, Minneapolis Police Department have rendered people unconscious with neck restraints 44 times. An unusually high number, and as they say, by using this tactic, it's a self-fulfilling tragedy. Naturally, eventually, you're going to kill someone. Most other departments do not use these neck restraints anymore, I do not think. This is a stunning photograph. This is Elmo at the protests. Really just speaks for itself. The fire on the garbage cans behind him. The strange kind of posture and step. He's kind of mid-step being Elmo. But yes, a lot of people were saying that Elmo had been radicalized. Interesting. Is anyone really surprised that the United States is on fire during a Trump presidency? And Stone Kettle says, a lot of people wanted this. Burn it down, they said to me right here on this timeline. Burn it down. Well, how do you feel now? How do you feel now that there's violence in the street? Do you still think we should burn it down? There won't be any collateral damage. There was a story, I don't think I have it here, but my friend Jesse Powell at Kraken, one of his friends needed an organ transplant desperately to live. And because of the riots, they had to cancel the organ transplant, and the organ went bad, and now they need another organ. So this does affect people. Riots slow down, ambulances, fire trucks, things can't be put out. People can't take tests. There's all kinds of things that this affects people. Sets back lives. More than 90% of the police in London don't carry guns. London's Metropolitan Police carried out some 3,300 deployments involving firearms in 2016. They didn't fire a single shot at a suspect. So there are other ways to do policing. We need to learn from other countries and change in America. Here's a shot from Los Angeles, California. The LAPD shoots a man in his own apartment, reporting from the upstairs balcony. Let's take a look at that. This looks like they're taking bicycles out of the street. They've arrested a guy on a bicycle, and then there it is right there. They're shooting at him. There it is. Pop right there. Shooting at a man who's in his own apartment on the balcony, just like they did yesterday in Minnesota when they shot at those people who were standing on their front porch. I don't know what kind of police officers you guys think you are, but you are destroying the community trust. If you thought you had problems getting people to snitch and give you evidence and report crimes and not just look the other way, imagine after they've seen the video of you shooting someone in their apartment. Shout out to Sean Parker and Sean Fanning, the two Seans. On this day in 1999, they launched Napster, the software that would change how we forever listen to music. Very cool stuff. As they even say right here in their interview, artists and labels will be able to make money off of streaming music. Maybe not with Napster or the later purchased by corporation version of Napster, but the idea was there, the MP3 was there, and they helped put it all together into a usable package for normal people. It's very cool. Eerie symbolism of the Trump administration. In the midst of multiple crises, he turns off the lights in the White House. A global pandemic with more than 100,000 dead in the United States. More than 40 million people unemployed. Coast-to-coast protests. And the president's house is dark. Impressive tips from the Hong Kong protesters. I'm going to go over it here with the helps that maybe it will help someone out there in the streets. They have a variety of different jobs and protest roles that they suggest in Hong Kong. As it says at the top, there are many ways to participate in a protest and support each other. Each fighting our own way, we climb the mountain together. And there are shield soldiers, frontliners who use wood boards, swim boards, or signs to form a first line of defense. Peaceful protesters who don't want to fight but join hand in hands with frontliners using their phones to film aggression. Range soldiers, protesters who throw water bottles, umbrellas, and trash to stop police from advancing. Fire squads, protesters who use water and traffic cones to suppress and extinguish tear gas canisters. Medics, protesters who support and treat injuries, have materials to treat tear gas exposure. Online communications. Online protesters who use social media apps to spread the report on police strategies and provide protesters with real-time strategic updates. Barricaders. Protesters who build barricades out of found objects at strategic positions to block oncoming police and traffic that trails protesters. Flag bearers. Uses signs or a phone to signal protesters when the police are advancing or attacking. Frontliner. Protesters who use umbrellas to guard against projectiles and cameras while keeping hands free for when help is needed. Fire mage. Protesters who come prepared to set fire to barricades and throw flammable projectiles. Light mage. Protesters who use laser pointers to obstruct surveillance cameras, drones, or police visors. Cop watch. Protesters support who use phones to record violent police and document police tactics and weaponry. And finally, designers who help make inspiring graphics, helpful infographics like this one, or banners for protesters. So there are a lot of different ways you can get involved in a protest. And remember, it's a complete bottom-up organization, so no one's going to tell you that you have to be a light mage or you have to be a fire squad or an online communications. You have to decide what job you want and then take it. Merrick CEO says, what put his life on a different trajectory is that someone intervened to give him an opportunity to close that opportunity gap. We're not asking people to give everybody handouts, but we need to acknowledge that there are huge opportunity gaps. And I do agree with this. We need equality of opportunity. We can't confirm that there'll be equality of outcome, but we can at least have equality of opportunity. Give everyone a chance to move up. Have a safety net. Have things like inexpensive college, universal health care, universal basic income in case you lose your job. Things like this allow workers and everyone the equality of opportunity that they deserve. Tear gas and rubber bullets fired at protesters near Tropicana and Koval. This is in Las Vegas again. Can't really see much from here, though. I think we're getting close to the end, hopefully. We're making it through. This is Columbia, South Carolina right now. They say we are living in a police state. You can see the large armored personnel carrier rolling out on the street there with a machine gun on top. They've casually painted it Columbia Police and SWAT, but we can see this is a military vehicle. This is not for community policing. This is not to get the people to trust you. And we see the military forces moving in with the military vehicles. There's another one there. And there's a school bus. So I'm guessing the arrested protesters will go on the school bus later. They don't have a special military school bus. Looking for leadership? Sorry, no one's home. This is a resignation. This should be taken as a resignation. If your country is in crisis, your cities are burning, your police forces are assaulting, murdering, and kidnapping people, and you turn off the lights and hide, you're not the president. You've resigned your duties. Just FYI, Home Depot has gas-proof goggles for $10 that protected this protester's eyes from mace yesterday. They also have $10 helmets and heat-resistant gloves. Protect yourself. And finally, we made it up to the FBI agent insulting the officers. Maybe let's just watch a little of that again. Maybe you didn't see it at the beginning. But this guy is an FBI agent. He's been racially profiled by these officers, and he doesn't like it one bit. Listen to him constantly berate the officers, calling them the stupidest people in the world.
You guys took up the wrong guy. You guys are fucking stupid. That's not you. You guys are racial profile thinking I'm somebody. I take both of you motherfuckers. Take them cuffs off. Sir. I got them. Take them cuffs off. I'll take both of you motherfuckers right now. This guy got the cleanest record. Y'all just. I'll take both of you motherfuckers right now. Take the cuffs off. For me, y'all got the wrong. Stupid, man. You guys are the dumbest motherfuckers.
Well, they want to get tough. Travis fucking wall.
You are stupid. I don't know how you become a cop. Matter of fact, anybody can become a cop nowadays. Yeah, so you guys really had no other choices to do? You guys really had nothing else to go to college for but be a cop and harass me? To assume I'm somebody I'm not? My ID's in my back pocket. Watch how funny this is. Go ahead.
Watch this.
No, don't hate me. Look at it. Oh,
FBI.
Oh.
Wrong guy.
Oh my God. No, get the fuck off me, dude. Get off me, dude.
Bro, you fucked up.
Matter of fact, I need our cards. I need your supervisor over here. Call your supervisor. Call your supervisor. Call your supervisor over here. You guys
Listen to the people at his table laughing.
Why you guys? What the fuck is wrong with you guys?
Look at him. Get him. Tough guy. And this guy here.
No, what do you mean? I look like him. I need your guys. I need your guys. Supervisor. Sir, can you please come here? Are you the supervisor? These guys are racially profiling me. They assume I'm someone that I'm not. I told them I'm not who they think I am. And they said, no, you are. I'm positive you are. So, I need their cards. I need your card. I need your card. I need your supervisor. No. Yes, I request your supervisor. Why is that?
Bro, that was fucked up.
You're a public servant. You work for us.
That's because the corrupt is
Okay, I would like your card. Yep. And I'm going to follow the board on you, and you. Because you guys are all stupid. You guys are the dumbest motherfuckers I ever met in my life.
You're glad? Why, bro?
You guys really work?
This motherfucker.
Is that how you guys work nowadays? You assume someone is someone and that's it? That's all you guys do? Yeah? Oh my God, what is American? You're allowed to.
Allowed to what?
What has America come to? You just pick people up randomly off the streets? You think that they're the guy? Oh, so good. And he's like, wait till you see, and again, what a risk he takes, because they could certainly kill him before they look at his ID. It's a huge risk he takes. He's a very risky gentleman, gutsy guy. But boy, does he nail him, calling them the stupidest people he's ever met, the dumbest people. And that's all of these police who are attacking civilians, who are attacking press, who are running people over with their cars. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen to you the next day? You're going to go home to your wife and be like, hey, I just ran over some human beings with my car today. Is that attractive? I don't think so. But yes, I think we've almost made it. We're almost out. Okay, so here's Brooklyn. Yeah, this is worth showing again. There we go. So you can see that the line's broken down and the officers are now trying to arrest individual people. You see one right there with a handful of zip ties. You can see them marauding through the crowd, just smashing and beating. We haven't seen this kind of beating since the 1960s, right? This was the classic beating that they used to hand down. Just the clubs, just club, club, club. Who are they hitting there? They're hitting him 5 times, 10 times. He's underneath the bench, right? Here we are. We've lost control. The line is going through. We're supposed to be arresting these people. We're not supposed to be hurting them. But instead, smash, smash, smash with a club. Guy on the ground. Keep smashing. Smash, smash, smash. Here's a zip tie. Smash, smash, smash. So, Brooklyn, New York. Just pounding on them. So again, the Iraq and Afghanistan example, these people had no problem with you before. They were protesting the death in Minneapolis, right? They didn't have a local problem. Now we have a local problem in Brooklyn. This right here outside of the Victoria's Secret, outside the Atlantic Terminal, the Guitar Center, and the Applebee's near Sephora is right where the officers just started randomly beating people. Just smashing and beating, smashing and beating. With every hit, they create more protesters. With every hit, they create more people who will never want to be police officers, never want to work with police officers, never want to assist or aid police officers. If you saw a police officer choking to death, would you help him? Would you walk the other way? I guess it depends if he just beat your buddy in the face with a club. Are these protesters going to stop now that they've been beaten up? No. They've been radicalized. They now have skin in the game. Their buddy got hit last night. Of course they're going to come out 5 more nights. And maybe they're going to bring their own clubs. Maybe next time this rolls back against the police. It's a mistake to do that. But then, of course, as the FBI officer said, they just might be the dumbest people in the world. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much to the donation we had yesterday. 262,144 Satoshis. Very cool. You can donate now with Bitcoin, or you can use the Lightning wallet or the Lightning network. Here's a Lightning code for a $10 donation if you wanted to scan that with your Lightning wallet. We're going to get back to this Lightning stuff soon. Ben's been showing me some great new ways to use it and developing a lot of great tools, and I want to help you guys understand how to use the Lightning network and make it easier for you. I also want to do a show about hardware wallets. I have a bunch of varying qualities of hardware wallets sitting around here. I want to do a show where I just kind of demo them. Of course, it'll be a live demo, so I'm not going to prepare anything, and it's going to be kind of a train wreck. But if they're easy to use, it will be easy to do. If they're hard to use, we will probably find all the pain points for you. But we have those kind of things that we're working on here in the future. We've also got the Bitcoin group from last week. Check that out on Friday. We talked about all the different issues in Bitcoin, as well as the horrifying issues happening in the mainstream news. Pretty sure I'm going to lose my voice here, so I think we're going to head towards the end of the show. Thanks again to everyone for joining us, giving us a thumbs up and a share, having a spirited but polite discussion there in the chat. Remember, you can always leave a comment later. There was a couple comments yesterday. I do try to read them all. Some of them were actually really good and not spam. So I appreciate the comments that are real. And yeah, give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Hit the bell for notifications. And until next time, bye-bye.